You're listening to the Better Relationships After Baby podcast, where I believe your relationship can be stronger than ever after having a baby. It just takes tools, conversation, and support to help you get there. I'm Chelsea Skaggs, certified life and relationship coach, mom of two, and survivor and thriver of tough relationship challenges after babies. I'm committed to helping couples just like you improve your communication skills, connection points, and personal confidence so that you can have the life and family you've always dreamt of. Now, let's get to today's episode. Hello, parents, partners, lovers, and friends. The only lover of mine listening to this podcast is Mike. So, Mike, if you're listening, shout out to my lover. I am excited for this week's topic because it is based on a conversation that I had with a client right now, and I think it's going to impact a number of you. And so we are going to have a conversation this week about seasonal affective disorder. When I said that, it does not sound as exciting in that sentence as it sounds in my head. I'm like, guys, get pumped up. We're talking about seasonal affective disorder. But what I wanted to convey was the opportunity to think ahead, the ways that we can know ourselves and predict some of our patterns and be intentional about it, okay? It's not always about never being sad, never having seasonal affective disorder, or, never doing whatever, fill in the blank. It's about knowing ourselves and using the tools to be proactive and take care of ourselves the best that we can. I am a seasonal affective disorder girly in the Midwest. My clients, a lot of them come from the Midwest, and I was talking to a Midwest mama this week when this came up and thought, I'm sure that she is not the only person thinking about this. I'm sure I am not the only person who starts to think about this when the weather gets a little bit cooler. Don't get me wrong, I love October. October is for all things wonderful, but it is a reality that colder, darker days are coming. But most of my life, I have hated winter. I do not like to be cold. It is uncomfortable. There is nothing great about your cheeks freezing and the wind blowing on your face and feeling like it is chapping in a matter of seconds. I do not think that's cute. I do not think that is fun. I do not like to be cold. If I had to pick, I would most certainly sweat my ass off in a jungle as opposed to being cold. However, 2 years ago, we made a move back to my home state, our home state of Ohio. And in doing so, I determined to take a different approach to winter. We have a fireplace. I love a good cozy blanket. Our family has gotten to the point where we're watching like movie series, like Harry Potter, for example. And just that, like making the living room warm and cozy, having the fire on, wearing sweatpants, drinking tea. I realized there's like a lot of enchantment and a lot of beauty available in winter. So for the last couple of years, I have made it a personal mission to, I won't say like love or even like winter, but to endure it with joy and to not hate it quite as much. And so I want to invite you, as we're having this conversation, to think about what can make this next winter, if it has traditionally been a difficult season for you, what can make it something that opens up new dimensions of you, helps you, maybe to rest if you're like me and you have spent most of your life proving your worth with your productivity. Learning to rest is a really beautiful thing, and it's like an act of resistance against our go-go culture. Maybe you want to model that for your kids and like learn what it means to slow down with them. I just invite you as we talk today to think about what it means for winter for you. Now, my girlies out there on the West Coast, I see those listeners, those of you I know who are out in San Diego and Orange County and LA. I see you. I love you. I loved my years where I did not have such a significant winter, but I also invite you to think about what it means to take a slower season. So let's get into the changing seasons, our moods, what that looks like in our relationship and in parenting. So, as I said, I was talking with one of my clients earlier this week and recognized that she was starting to feel nervous about the upcoming winter months, especially as a new parent. So, there's a couple of things here, navigating baby wellness, illness, germs, protection, all of that, and also recognizing that she is prone to seasonal affective disorder and still dealing with some of the lingering parts of postpartum depression for her. And what is true is that postpartum depression and seasonal affective disorder can compound each other. So if you're prone to this, I say I'm doing this episode early. It's just early October and I'm talking about winter, but the reason is because I want to help you to think ahead and to prep and to start building some habits. So we're going to talk about those things. But the reality is that both postpartum depression and SAD, seasonal affective disorder, impact your mood. They impact your energy levels. They impact just your overall well-being and how you're showing up. There is research that indicates that postpartum depression can be exacerbated by seasonal changes, particularly like we're talking tonight during winter and when the daylight hours are shorter. So there is a study in the Journal of Affective Disorders that found that women with PPD or postpartum depression are at a higher risk for developing SAD or seasonal affective disorder due to the changes in light exposure and less physical activity typically during winter months. So again, I want to talk about this early because I want to give you the opportunity to be proactive, to think about this with your partner and your own life and your own habits. So it's probably time now to talk about winter safety precautions. How are you going to navigate winter, germ season, holidays, all of the things that are coming up? And here's where I would start. I would just start a conversation about one another's fears and concerns around germs and sickness. What is your risk tolerance? What kind of factors are going to help you decide when to go out to something? Talk with your partner about what precautions you feel are necessary. What about the people around you? Like, what kinds of precautions are you going to be expecting them to take in order to interact with your family? This is a good time to talk about those things. This is a good time to talk about what those boundaries might be like. How are you going to balance safety with social interactions? What is a factor in the safety bucket and what is a factor in the mental wellness and the need for interaction kind of bucket? So we want to be thinking about what is going to happen if baby does get sick so that you both are able to communicate, so that you're not blaming one another and that you feel less anxious. When I talk about proactive planning like this, sometimes it might seem silly, like, oh, we'll just decide in the moment. But what I can find is that without these things, then somebody makes a decision. Sometimes, especially like when parts of communication are off, here's a pattern that I see. Somebody makes the best decision that they can with the information that they have. Something doesn't go right, baby does get sick, or a problem does arise, and partner who made the decision gets blamed because the other person maybe is experiencing fear, maybe is experiencing resentment, maybe is just really high in that anxiety, and that can cause just a really ugly conversation and a really ugly blame game. And one way to avoid the blame game is to have these conversations proactively when you are able to. And I know we're kind of talking about two topics here that really overlap. We've got the baby, we've got safety, but I also want to talk about why it's crucial to prioritize your well-being, especially during this time, especially when you could just be, scared of winter season. Some people are, some people aren't, but I want to make a case for your own mental health too. So, a couple of things for filling your own bucket that I want you to be thinking about now before, these months even emerge. And maybe it's not too early. I should stop saying that. Like, my daughter just had a fever this weekend and it popped up and went away, but it completely changed the whole day for us. So it's not too early. But thinking about your well-being during this time, a couple of thoughts. First is, how are you going to be creating a supportive network? Who are you going to lean on? Friends, family, support groups? Is there a teenage babysitter down the road that can help when something is a scramble? Is there maybe a homeschooled teenager that can help during the week, during the work days, if other people aren't available? Like, who are you going to need so that things don't feel so stressful when they arise? That stress, that things being tossed and turned and unpredictable can make the seasonal affective disorder and just the overall feelings not as great, or worse. Make sure that you are scheduling in that me time. So plan small breaks for yourself. And I mean, plan them ahead of time, not like, oh, when the baby goes to sleep and I get the dishes done and the laundry is folded, then I'll take a little break, see for myself. Babe, that's not going to happen most of the time, at least, unless your child is a literal angel that sleeps on a very predictable schedule for a very predictable amount of time. No, we have got to schedule that time to breathe, to listen to a 5-minute meditation, to take 5 laps around the house in the fresh air, to stretch. Sometimes for me, self-care is stretching and deep breaths. It's not fancy, but schedule in free time. It may be that warm bath, walk, reading, those short intentional breaks to help recharge you. And so what I say is, like, maybe set a timer for 10 minutes when the baby goes to sleep, before you touch the dishes, the laundry, open your laptop for work. Like, schedule those things in, or they're not going to happen, because shit is always going to go off course. And as we're looking into the winter seasons, communicate those needs. I'm always talking about communication, but be open with your partner and start a routine now of checking in with one another. Start a routine now of having 10 minutes in the evening that each of you have to yourself, and 10 minutes that you have together, so that you can make that connection, so that you can have some me time scheduled in there, so that it's not just waiting for things to happen. If you want to avoid extra anxiety, depression, overwhelm, then we have to build these things in and not just wait for them to happen. Speaking of that, let's talk about some of these habits that can help you to combat seasonal affective disorder and why you should start them now. The answer to that is because habits take time. They take time to become habits, to get through those days where the honeymoon period is over. When you start something new and you do 2 or 3 days and you're like, yeah, I'm really kicking ass at that. But by day 7 or 8, it's not novel. It's not fun. It's not new anymore. And to push through that takes some intention and tenacity and skill, and sometimes some outside support. So start building habits now so that they can really help you navigate the upcoming winter season. So getting outside, this is a no-brainer, but get outside, get your daily exposure to natural light, even if it's brief. This can be taking your baby for a walk. This can be you taking a walk around the block, or, a mile down your road when it's the evening time and you've scheduled some me time for yourself, so that you can get out and keep your mental health intact and keep some habits in there that connect with you. But you're going to need that light, babe. And it's going to be a lot easier to start right now to do those walks outside every day than it is to wait until it's dead ass December and you're like, okay, well, I haven't gotten outside for 12 days because it's been cold. Let me start now. No, start today when the weather's not so bad and you can get out, you can enjoy it, make it a habit, get outside, take a walk, or take a beach towel to your backyard and lay in the sun. Like, I don't care, just get some sunlight. Along with that is staying active. And this is for yourself, like active in a way that feels good in and to your body. Some people love the like gruff challenge of things. Some people love the repetitive nature of something like running or biking. Some people love the stretch and the intuitive body experience of like yoga and um, deep stretching. So figure out what makes you feel good, what makes you feel connected to your body. That's going to be really important. And then ask yourself the question too, like, is this something that I love to do alone? Is this something that I want to do socially? Is that an option for me to do this socially if I want to? That can be a double win when you're able to get in some movement like a postpartum fitness class and make some other friends as well. But that movement is going to be really important to release the endorphins and improve your mood. Healthy eating is also an important part of winter. And that I'm not saying like skip the sweet potato soup or like a good homemade mac and cheese. It is time for those comforts. But when we get into those warm foods, like just don't forget to I sound like a high school health teacher. Like, don't forget to also get your fruits and veggies. But it's real. Those omegas, those fruits and veggies. Think now, how can you have food that is really comforting and that continues to just support you feeling good and feeling well? What do you need to do to stay connected to others? Activities, meetups, those things do go down during the winter season, and that's really normal. But ask yourself, what kind of level of connection do you need from other people to stay in a good place? And what will you do to put that on the calendar? Is it signing up for a class? Is it having a friend that you call every Tuesday at noon? Is it joining a virtual group? Is it having a small group where you're learning or a book club with other people? Consider light therapy. We talked about that natural light, but if you notice symptoms of seasonal affective disorder, there are so many light boxes that are made to mimic natural sunlight. So your healthcare provider should be able to help you. There's lots and lots of reviews on Google. And I'm sure that there are going to be like 30,000 of them sold on TikTok Shop this winter, but just make sure you know who you're taking information from. I'm not going to tell you which kind of light therapy to use because I am not an expert on that. And then the last thing is just asking yourself, what does it mean to be mindful? Mindfulness doesn't have to be this like woo-woo word or seem so serious. Sometimes these words can feel so serious, like I'm practicing my mindfulness. But like it literally can just be, I'm going to check in with myself. Hey, self, how are you doing? Hey, brain, let's take a breath so that you can kind of relax a little bit and not have all of the ants rushing around in every part of your brain right now. Like take a breath. It can be like, oh, I notice my heart is racing, or I notice that my shoulders are tight, or maybe I'm clenching my jaw, or I'm sitting in a way where I'm like clenching my butt cheeks too hard, or there's so many options there. But mindfulness is being in tune with yourself, and I think it gets to start with like asking yourself questions. Oh man, my shoulders are tense. Why are they feeling like that? What ways can I move my body so that they feel a little more relaxed? Get to know yourself. Okay, this is all an invitation to get to know you and what you need, and then how you communicate what you need, how you get what you need, how you experience your journey of worthiness with what you need. I want you to really enjoy getting to know yourself during this season. And I will also just invite you that if you are in that place where you're exploring getting back to you and staying connected to you, or if you're doing that in the situation of your relationship, like how do I show up? How do I connect? And how does my partner show up? And how do they connect? And how do we do that together? I want to invite you to explore coaching. Like maybe it is a time for you to have more accountability. Maybe it is time for you to have a weekly video face to face with someone who is going to check in on you, who is going to love you, who is going to keep you in the direction of moving forward and growing and caring for yourself and knowing how to do that well. I would love to support you through this season because I find, that the hibernation can be so beautiful. You can really expand, you can get to know yourself, but also there is a reality for many of us of seasonal affective disorder, and for those moms that's also compounding with postpartum depression. You are not broken, and I really hope that this invitation gives you some ideas on how to think ahead and build those habits, build those supports so that you can have less of that just overwhelm and not be anxiety and fear driven, but be able to rest a little bit, to relax your body, to lean in and get cozy with this family that you have built. It is an honor to share this space with you on the podcast and anywhere else that we get to talk. If we don't talk anywhere else, find me. I'm on Peanut. I lead live conversations on the Peanut app. I am on Instagram and TikTok, and I also send a weekly newsletter. So would love to share that with you. If you're not connected more, let's do that. You can find ways to connect with me in the show notes. If you enjoyed this episode, I would be so grateful if you take a minute to help spread the word. As a small business owner, shares and reviews go a long way. So share this episode with a friend, share it on your social media, and please leave a review if you haven't done so. This helps these messages get to more mamas, and you guys, that's how we change the world.